Hello everyone, this is Fine from Tech Gaming Villa. Today I'm going to talk about the two TV, the Sony Bravia X75K and the Sony Bravia X80K. The left side is Sony X75K and the right side is Sony X80K. The Sony X75K series is the most affordable in the company's range of Ultra HD TV and is also one of the handful of series that has 43-inch size, 55-inch size and 65-inch size. This Ultra High HD TV LED LCD display with high dynamic range support of up to HLG and HDR10 formats. When it comes to design, the Sony X75K television is just a hint near to look at than the typical 43-inch television. This is mainly thanks to a pleasing finish around the fairly narrow borders of the screen and the simple and discreet Sony logo on the front. The TV is about as thick as you would expect from an LED TV of this size. The bottom of the TV is interestingly slanted a bit, giving the bottom firing speaker system a bit of visibility and directionality. It is possible to table mount or wall mount the television, although the sales package includes only the stands for table mounting. You can use any VESA compatible wall mount of your own. And Sony also offers free professional installation where the technician will provide a suitable wall mounting kit if you choose to have it put on a wall. One set of ports and sockets on the Sony X75K television faces the back of the TV, while the second faces the left of the screen. The back-facing ports include one HDMI in port, between sockets, Ethernet port for wired internet connectivity, digital audio out or toslink port, and power socket. All of these are quite hard to access if you have the TV wall mounted with a low profile bracket, and this might even cause some of the cables and plugs to bend and twist dangerously to the point of getting damaged. We'll also want to ensure all of these connections are in place before you hook the TV onto the wall bracket. The side-facing connectivity options include two HDMI ports, two USB Type A ports, 3.5mm headphone jack, and an antenna socket. These are considerably easier to access, but I was disappointed that neither of the side-facing HDMI ports support audio return channel. However, all the HDMI ports do support the latest HDCP 2.3 standard. Other key specifications of the Sony X75K TV include a native refresh rate of 50 Hz on 43-inch model and 65-inch model is possibly 60 Hz. Sony's Motion Flow Exert 200 interpolation algorithm and 16 GB of built-in storage for apps and app data. The television has a 20-watt bottom-firing open baffle speaker system with support for Dolby Audio wireless connectivity, includes Bluetooth 5 and dual-band Wi-Fi connectivity apart from wired Ethernet connectivity. Sony still ships a big, full-function remote with the X75K TV. The remote has an infrared emitter and Bluetooth connectivity, and once paired with the TV using Bluetooth, the infrared emitter is only used to turn the TV on or off. The rest of the functionality, including issuing voice commands via the microphone on the remote, uses Bluetooth connectivity and therefore doesn't need you to point the remote at the TV in order to work. The remote has a number pad, direction pad, back and home buttons for navigation, playback controls, and hotkeys for Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, YouTube, and YouTube Music. There is also a dedicated button to invoke Google Assistant buttons to change the source to pull up the TV setting from anywhere within the interface, and a useful information button which displays the resolution of streaming content, connection speed, and more. It looks good, works well, and gets the job done properly. The X75K also has a Google Chromecast built in, the Sony X14K processor, support for Google Assistant and Amazon Alexa, AirPlay 2, and HDMI CEC for controlling connected devices using a single remote. You can also use the TV's Bluetooth connectivity with wireless headphones and speakers. All of these features worked as expected, but it's important to note that you will need a separate app to mirror your Apple's devices wirelessly onto the TV. The Google TV user interface launched with the Chromecast with Google TV in 2020, but uptake for the platform has been slow, with many TV manufacturers choosing to stick with the tried and tested stock Android TV interface. Sony is an early adopter of the new user interface, and the 75K runs Android TV 11 with the Google TV user interface on top. Google TV is of course just a different interface or skin on top of Android TV, which still runs the core operation of the smart functionality on the Sony X75K. This includes the Google Play Store of Android TV with its 5,000 plus apps designed and optimized for use on television, easy access to Google Assistant and Chromecast and more. The search and recommendations tabs also have Rotten Tomatoes approval ratings baked in for many titles, and the system is able to recommend movies and TV shows from various streaming services, including Disney Hotstar, Apple TV Plus, Amazon Prime Video, and Wood, among others. While the search tab can scan through all apps on the TV, including Netflix, and the recommendations engine oddly does not support Netflix here. Sony X75K support for just HLG and HDR10 formats does seem a bit disappointing. However, this Sony television does a great job even with the limited HDR format support compared to what many affordable televisions do, even with the superior Dolby Vision format. This is largely thanks to the better picture quality calibration and superior HDR implementation by Sony. The brightness bump with HDR content on the Sony X75K TV is subtle, but the format benefits colors considerably more, making for stronger, more vibrant colors across content. The colors of nature as well as the bright lights of the game show set all looked good on the TV. Skin tones in particular looked very good, as did the varying shades of green and blue visible in forests and water bodies on the nature documentary that came through with a strong sense of accuracy. The Sony X75 also delivered a sharp picture aided by good colors and clean motion, although the extra detail in Ultra HD picture was arguably less visible on the smaller 43-inch size. 65-inch also very good. It did seem to produce a picture that was visibly sharper and more detailed than similarly spec'd lower priced options of this size. This was particularly visible during the dark and busy scenes of Venom. Bright daylight didn't really cause any significant issues with glare on the screen, but the Sony X75K simply isn't bright enough on its own to counter the effects of direct sunlight in a room. Black levels were decent for an LED television, and this also led to decent contrast levels that properly set apart bright and dark scenes and allowed good colors and detail to come through as it should for a TV of this size. The sound quality on this Sony X75K television was ordinary, but entirely usable even if you don't intend to add a soundbar or a speaker system into the mix. Sound was decent at high volumes with clear dialogue and reasonable performance with background scores, but even at high volume levels, it didn't get very loud. That said, volume variation and spikes weren't really an issue for me, but the sound levels were appropriate for late night bedroom TV watching. The 5 GHz Wi-Fi connectivity on the Sony X75K television during in this test, on a couple of occasions, the TV was unable to connect to the 5 GHz band of the home router, despite it being just a few meters away. This made stable streaming of high-resolution content a problem on those occasions. Switching to the 2.4 GHz band ensured more stable connectivity. So let's talk about the Sony Bravia X80K. The X80K also Sony's more affordable offerings of 2022. So the 55-inch model, that is the direct replacement of the last year's X80J. X80J and X80K almost same, I will say. X80K does not stray much from its entry-level nature, and by looking at the specifications, it is extremely hard to find any differences from last year. So I'm really curious if Sony did anything different in this one, or it is just a renamed model. This TV sits at the bottom of the release list. So many of the more advanced features have been completely stripped from this one. It still can be a good value if you know what you are getting, and that's why you are here for. Going real quick over the specifications, you see that the X80K is being offered in exactly the same sizes as the X80J. Before, the range from 43-inch and 55-inch, 65-inch, and all the way up to 75-inch. All sizes come with direct LED backlight systems and use the X1 4K HDR processor along with a Triluminous Pro display. No doubt X80K is a better TV than X75K, and overall, no doubt it's a better picture quality than X75K. And it supports Dolby Atmos, Dolby Vision, and DTS, and for operating system, it comes equipped with the latest Google TV that includes Chromecast and AirPlay. Unfortunately, there is no HDMI 2.1 It's same as X75K will say, and as a result, it does not support any gaming-centric features. More or less the same as in 2021, but what really matters is to see if the TV performs the same. More on this you can find down below on your the measurements. So without any further delay, you see the X80K having extremely similar characteristics, the X80J. Overall quality is not bad, but surely it reflects the low-cost nature of the release. The TV's overall thickness was measured around 2.7 inch, so not much have changed here. Also, the connection ports are all looking sideways, but these are still hard to reach in case you want to wall mount the TV. The borders around the panel have the typical thickness for a low-cost model, so don't expect to find these nice thin borders that some top releases come with. The back of the X80K features a checkerboard design in order to make it a little bit more interesting, resembling the X85J very much, although paying close attention on these two are not the same. Lastly, as far as cable management is connected, there are special clips that attach on the back of each leg in order to drive your cables through them instead of having hollow legs like other stands of the same type. In 2022, Sony continues to improve on their remote, and it seems that slowly Sony TVs come with something that actually resembles a smart remote. This means that this year the remote buttons have been reduced as the numerical pad has been taken out. I really liked Sony's 2021 remote, but to be honest, it had too many buttons with many of them never to be used. So making the remote smaller and simpler was the right thing to do. And I'd love to what they have come up with. Slow but steady Sony's remote start to feel a lot like Samsung's One remote, which is something that Sony should have done for some time now. If you see the picture quality of this X80K, it seems to be using the X14K Hdr processor, although there is no information if this is exactly the same chip that the X80J was using last year. But looking at the specification sheet, it seems to support all the same features, so it is highly likely that Sony hasn't changed anything here, meaning that in terms of picture processing, the new model is with last year's model. One of its characteristics of the X1 processor is object-based HDR remaster, with which the color in individual objects on screen is analyzed and the contrast adjusted, unlike most TVs where contrast is only adjusted along one black to white contrast curve. Because objects are remastered individually, this TV can reproduce greater depth, textures, and more real pictures. There is also dynamic contrast enhancer, which automatically adjusts contrast settings according to your environment in order to provide clearer and more defined colors. And for last, I left a 4K X Reality Pro. By using the picture processing technology, the X80K is able to upscale any kind of source content up to 4K with remarkable results. 4K X Reality Pro is using a variety of noise reduction techniques to sharpen and refine images, while patterns in images are compared with patterns stored in a unique database to find the best hue, saturation, and brightness for each pixel. And the X80K did brilliant in all kinds of resolutions, from low definition ones up to 720p and HD resolution. The last year Sony was using two backlight systems depending the category of the TV for 2022. These have been expanded with the new mini LED models. Unfortunately, the X80K seems to be getting the short end of the stick for one more year, as I find the low performing direct LED one without local dimming. The direct LED systems is using light behind the included IPS panel, but is much less capable than a full array local dimming system, which means far less brightness output, less light accuracy, and lower contrast, which means that blacks will appear for grayish than true blacks. And with the X80K's IPS panel low contrast capabilities, the omission of local dimming makes things even worse. To be honest, I'm not surprised, as having a direct LED systems is pretty common the last few years in Sony's lower end category, and in line with what I've seen in many other TVs with a similar price. At least having an IPS panel in combination with direct LED light system makes the X80K much less prone to any major burn-in problems. One of the most important characteristics of HDR TV is no other than its brightness output. It's unfortunate that many lower-tier HDR TVs don't have the necessary brightness output to make HDR justice, even with manufacturers advertising them as such, and with so similar hardware to the X80J. I'm not expecting this measurement here to stray much from 2021 findings. In HDR brightness test, I'm used custom picture mode with expert one color temperature and maximum brightness. In this 10% white window test, the X80K was able to output 370 nits of brightness, which is okay for HDR content and extremely close to the X80J. As for the HDR brightness test over a 10% window, it is 405 nits, which is not very good and cannot create very bright highlights when it is needed. Again, the X80K measured almost the same as the X80J. The difference is extremely small, but no doubt if I compare it with the X75K, X80K definitely a better TV than X75K. And as always, you can get slightly more brightness if you need it with the vivid mode, but this will cost you in color accuracy. So basically, it is trade-off that you have to live with. But to be honest, the changes is not all that big to be worthwhile. In terms of contrast, the TV was disappointing. The 55-inch model was using an IPS type of panel, and these in general don't fare very well with black levels. Blacks will appear more gray instead, which is a problem that will show its ugly face a lot if you are watching in a low lit room. The X80K seemed to even perform worse here than the previous model. The view angle of this both X75K and X80K is average. X80K comes with an ADS panel which is similar to IPS in structure and characteristics, and this usually means good things when it comes to its viewing angles, especially in comparison to TVs that come with VA panels. The X80K is not featuring any wide viewing angle technology that could potentially improve even further its performance, but for an IPS-equipped LCD TV, they are still very good. No major differences here, as X80K retained its image quality up to about 40 degrees of an angle, which can be considered very good, making this model ideal for family rooms where many people will be watching from different angles. Anything more than that and the overall quality starts to degrade a lot. But to be honest, anything more than that will make viewing rather difficult to begin with, so this shouldn't be a problem at all. So both X75K and X80K are a good entry-level TV, but X80K a bit better than X75K. What do you think? Please write in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe this channel. I have another channel which is a tech channel. I have made some PC hardware and PC hardware benchmark video on that channel, Awesome Tech Gaming Pro. So you can visit. I already include the link on the description, Awesome Tech Gaming Pro. So please subscribe and press the bell icon for future notifications update. Thanks for watching.